Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network. Here at Center Ice, I am Nick. Beside me here, as always, is Brit. How are you doing, Brit?
Hello. I am good. It's riding high. You got to be happy until you can't. So feeling good, man. I feel really good.
Good.
I
I'm great.
was playing. Do we only have the one game to go over today?
Just the one to go over, but we have a
Nice.
whole slew of talking points about it, though. I tell you what.
I was playing hockey, so somehow they have managed the podcast is during a game every week. So then
Oh,
we
you're
move it to Wednesday night and we record, and that's our night that we have piano, Max practice, my practice.
oh,
Then I
geez.
also practice Tuesday nights. They've also managed to have 2 playoff games during my Tuesday night practice, which goes from
Ooh,
7 to 9. And so both nights I've brought my phone with me on the bench, and I brought my phone out and right away, boom, boom. I was do I even want to turn the game on when I get home? I was thoroughly depressed leaving the rink. Everybody was concerned for me. And then things changed. But it
yeah.
was, I feel bad that everybody had to see my bad side. It would be nice if the Avs would stop playing shitty in the beginning when so hockey practice. I was ready to chuck my phone into the stands. Between my phone and my computer, I am ready to abuse some electronics lately.
There you go. There you go. But hey, that's as the saying goes, if you couldn't handle me on my bad side, you don't deserve me on my good side. So,
Exactly.
anyway, but before we get into everything, don't forget everybody to like and subscribe, follow the MHRT network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck podcast go live. You can follow the MHRT network on the various social media platforms or podcast places of your choosing. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at the Cluster Puck podcast on Facebook or on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Cluster Puck Avs, AVS. Okay, so let's kind of take a dive into this. So last week we talked about preferred rivals, finishing up the series, that kind of stuff, how we're preparing, all that kind of stuff. And we end up drawing Dallas and even playing through a game, right? Which we'll get to in a second. But what were your overall thoughts seeing how the Dallas Vegas game ended up and we pulled Dallas? What was your initial thought of, okay, this is going to be the series? How is the series going to play out?
I was my main concern derived from the fact that Ottinger seemed to figure out how to play goalie again. And there's something really dangerous about a team. Vegas they were down 3-0 in the series. Is that what it was? 2-0 or 3-0?
Dallas was down 2-0 in the series.
And then they came back and they lost their 2 games at home. And then they came back and finished it off. It's like Jeff Merrick and I agree about almost everything in life, but he says that momentum isn't a thing, but I don't buy that. I really think that riding hot is a huge, especially for goalies, riding that confidence from one series into the next. So that was kind of my biggest concern because especially when they didn't just put anyone away, they put away the Vegas Golden Knights who had no they shouldn't have been the 8th place. Were they the 8th place seed? Which
they came in at the 7th.
Okay. So yeah, they're not your average 7th seed team. And they came in and immediately added, $20,000 worth of cap in players. And at the beginning there, who is it? Logan Thompson played out of his mind. I think he stole the first 2 games, didn't he? And Mark Stone came out and scored a goal. Hurl scored a goal. So it was oh, shoot. So I was definitely really worried about that because Dallas didn't just beat a regular 7th seed team. They beat the returning Stanley Cup champions, the absolutely menacing Vegas Golden Knights. We all hate them. Part of it is because we're a little bit jealous. Also, we're kind of a little bit intimidated by just shameless
the stacked rosters.
Flamboyance. Yeah, and it's just if you sat down and watched the games though, it didn't feel like a however many $1 million over cap roster. Mark Stone scored that first goal, but he didn't look great. Marchessault didn't look great. Pietrangelo, liability, just a lot of I don't know. It wasn't the Vegas that you anticipated, but it still is on paper that you beat the Stanley Cup champions, and now you're coming back and you're going to beat the year before Stanley Cup champions too. Like it's a measuring stick. Like they were the measuring stick from last year. So I thought that Dallas would come out insane. Like, which on paper, if you look at the numbers, they definitely did, scoring 3 goals in the first period. But let me tell you, nobody beats the Colorado Avalanche. The Colorado Avalanche only beat the Colorado Avalanche.
No kidding.
It was just another display of our truly bad luck. It's honestly. Do you think? Okay, so you think you can blame 2 of those on Georgiev? You can say I'd love you to at least stop 2 of those in the first period, but for God's sake, like he can't stop all 3 of those. Like it just.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have my opinion on those 3 goals, but I'll get into that one in just a second. So I'll keep that in the back of my brain.
No, sorry, I was writing that in. But yeah,
No, you're good.
I was a little more intimidated than I thought I would be, but we've had them in our pocket all year long. So
yeah,
there is something about when a team gets a team's number, and Dallas used to have ours, but for some reason we've had theirs this year. So I was feeling better than Vegas felt more mentally intimidating. So I was feeling good.
No, I think, like I said, it made me happy that they went to 7. That was the big thing that I was as long as it went to 7 and maybe even quadruple overtime, right? Something to just wear whichever team wins out, right?
Because they're missing. Did Hakanpää get hurt during that series, or was he hurt prior to that series?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I didn't really think about him all that much, to be completely honest.
I just asked because if it's like long term, I don't know when they plan on getting him back. But the more people get injured, the better for us. Like the series we end that lasts longer everywhere else around us is a good thing.
That's exactly right. But one thing I did notice with that Dallas Vegas matchup is that they both seem to just run out of gas basically at the same time. They both played down and lower and lower and lower equally, right? It wasn't like one got ahead of the other.
Which is wild because they're both slow teams already. I mean,
exactly,
they were such a drag heavy, but just not a fast game.
Yeah. Which so that's kind of why I'm, where I'm at now is, you see the Dallas Stars, that's kind of who they are. There's not much extra to that, right? The type of hockey that they play. They made Vegas's little capture convention blow up in their face, so it's like thanks to that. But they had a 2-day turnaround, whereas we had a week-long turnaround, right? And I know there's always going to be that discussion of, is a week too long, that kind of stuff. And maybe, right? So I guess maybe
how I've kind of like mentally processed it as I think that when you have a rest versus rust argument, like a game 7 finisher versus a long rested team, I think I had convinced myself that if they lost that game yesterday, it's okay. Look at the Panthers. I think that a lot of times it's normal for the resting team to lose the first game, and the team coming in hot to win. But we saw immediately those tables change tonight. Panthers kicked the crap out of the Bruins, and I was mentally prepared for us to lose that game, because I think that in the long run, the rest helps in the length of the series, while in the short term, if you can close it out in 4, you can make up for like having just played 7 games. But I think in the long run, every game that you can cut off counts so much in the long run down the stretch of every single series. And it's just compounding after the first.
Yeah. And that was kind of my initial thought too. So let's kind of dive into game 1, right? So spoiler for those who don't know yet, the Avalanche win this game in overtime 4-3. But it doesn't sound as fun as it actually is, right? Because in that first period, I swear within the first 10 minutes, in fact, let me pull this up. The Avalanche were down 3-0.
It was
which
fast.
uh,
I was
it
still
was.
on the ice for all three, and
Oh yeah, it was the whole third period, right? So, or first period, excuse me. So you're
Mhm.
going into the first intermission down 3-0, and you're like, boy, it couldn't get off to a worse start than that. And I think,
Yeah.
and you had even mentioned to, just chalk it up for the loss.
Yeah.
This game, this isn't going to be a sweep. You don't think it is, at least. So just get a feel for them, understand their game, and then come back game two. Just annihilate
Right.
them, right? So in the
Yeah,
back of
like you
your
almost wouldn't
mind.
be mad if they had kind of resignated to the loss and like rested their bodies or like
Yeah,
protected their bodies. But
exactly.
no, that's not how
But
we do.
and here's the question that I pose to you, Britt, is was there any part of you that said we're done? The game's over by the end of the first period.
No, no. I mean, I just don't. I can't. You can't feel that about this team anymore. Even if they were down 3-0 with 5 minutes left in the third, I still thought that they could catch up in that first game. I still had faith all the way until the last second in the game that they would come back, but it never felt good. But I
Yeah.
certainly and this has got to be something that's like like a thought that is solidifying itself within the entire NHL's brain is that you can never count the Avs out. I mean, you really can't ever count them out.
Yeah.
Score and time are irrelevant to these guys.
Yeah. And that was kind of the same thing I thought. I thought I had those flashbacks of the Pittsburgh game as well
Mm-hmm.
as the Vancouver Canucks game.
And the Dallas game, but this isn't
And the couple
supposed
of
to
the Dallas
happen in the
games. Yep.
playoffs,
Yep.
especially when I listen to Empty Netters, I listen to The Merrick Show, I listen to 31 Thoughts, Frank Saravalli,
Hmm.
What Chaos. I think I counted two people in all of their predictions that chose the Avs over Dallas. So,
Yeah. And I mean, rightfully so, right? I mean, they were the number one in the Central Division, right? They're a good team, right?
they
But
are.
the thing is that you kind of nailed it right on the head. Is, well, we've done this before multiple times with this exact same team. It's nothing new.
Mhm.
Um, and so going into that first period, or into the first period, I was like, this is a terrible spot to be in, because obviously nobody wants to be in that spot.
And then you're like, okay, so is Georgiev broken? Like, is this gonna
Exactly.
wreck
And that
him
was then
mentally?
those
Can he
questions
finish
begin
this?
to arise, exactly, right? Where it's like, okay, so is this just Georgiev's is it more of his rust
Did you
game?
hear their fans chanting his name? I swear to God,
Uh-huh.
freaking assholes. That is like straight up just karma. For it
It
makes me
really
so
is.
mad. Did they not realize that didn't work out well for the Jets fans last time they
I feel like
taunted
it
our
was
goalie?
motivation, if anything.
Yeah, yeah, he's a weird dude. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Anyways, I shouldn't say I knew, but I had the feeling that this game was going to be an absolute rocker when the Avalanche scored, when Val Nichushkin scored on that power play, because I know the Avs have come back from a multiple goal deficit multiple times, right? A chunk of them being 2 goals behind, right? A
Yeah.
good amount of them being 3, a couple of them even being 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I knew as soon as Val got that one, I began to see just the team just get up and get
Yeah.
everything
It's
back
amazing
into
how
its
it
position.
suddenly felt like this is just a game. You know what I mean? It didn't even, it felt
Yeah.
irrelevant.
Yep. And on the power play, no less. And so next power play opportunity we get, in fact, I believe they were the only 2 that we got.
Yeah, we certainly
Cale
weren't
Makar,
drawing the calls.
Cale Makar scores the goal, and immediately it's a 1-goal game, right? And it was a turnaround of about 4-ish, 5-ish minutes, right? So things can happen pretty quick. So now you're just going down 1 in the third period. Well, my first thought, I think I said this out loud to Allie, and I just said, if we get one within the first 2 minutes, this is an entirely different game. Which,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you know it, 39 seconds in, there goes Nathan MacKinnon. And all of a sudden it's a tie game, right? Now,
Yeah.
from that point on, I was thinking that this game would end 4-3 in regulation, if not 5-3
Yeah.
with the empty netter in regulation, that we would win. Just because that momentum that carried from the end of that second period through the third, a good chunk of the third, it was was pretty monumental, right? Dallas looked
Especially
pretty
to see them
sluggish, and
propel through. Mikko Rantanen was just the asshole of the day yesterday, man.
yeah,
They had the 5-on-3. I mean, they went through quite a bit of turbulence through that. It's like it definitely was a game worth giving up on. It felt like, for
yeah,
them. Um, things weren't going their way. They hit in the second period. I think I remember they hit 3 big posts, like big post hits. And just I don't know. We kind of lost Mikko Rantanen in it. He was determined to make us lose the game. But
yeah.
it was nice to see them get through that. Like a 5-on-3 is monumental in the NHL.
Oh yeah,
And then they had some missed calls. Like I think there was a high stick on Devontae's. The Trennan was questionable. So like they really did keep their heads on at a time that you could have understandably just sent it in. And
said
like
we're done here, and
specifically that Josh
yeah,
Manson save, was that in the second period that he batted a puck right off the goal
that
line,
was
that 2 billion% a goal when they were
that
down
was
3 to
part of that
nothing.
5-on-3,
Yeah.
or the second part of
So
that. Yeah,
they were down 3 to nothing at that point. So to see him putting in that kind of effort for like just stopping one more goal in what feels
yeah,
like is going to be in like the avalanche of goals, like that literally saved the whole game. Imagine if he
it
hadn't
did.
put, I mean, I've come to terms with Josh Manson is when you're a player that plays on the edge like him, offensively, like making big plays, being an active defenseman, he's gonna have some bonehead plays because you get burned harder. But for the shit that he does good, man, I'll eat the other stuff. Like
Oh yeah,
Josh Manson and Sam Girard, they were just disgusting yesterday. They're so,
yeah,
it was really nice to see them persevere, is the word I'm looking for, through
yeah.
a lot of crap in the second,
And there were a
and
lot of times.
including Georgiev. So he lets in 3 goals,
Sure,
boom, 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 and then he shuts it down. He had to make some big saves in the second. Not a ton. They
massive saves
really,
in the end of that third and overtime.
yes. So they really did close it down in the second really hard. They closed it down for most of the third, and then they just kind of lifted the foot off the gas pedal there. Did you feel that like slow drift into Dallas suddenly having more offensive time in the third? And you're
Oh
like,
yes,
what the hell, dudes? Like, you still have to score another one. And Georgiev saved them
I
when
think.
they just, I don't know if they got tired.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I'm a little lagged, but
No, it's okay.
I think one of the big, I guess, swaying moments, I should say, was in the dying minutes of that third period where Josh Manson does get the tripping call, but there's the embellishment on the other end, so it was offsetting penalties. I think had
Okay,
that
wait,
just
hold
been the
on.
tripping
Tell me,
call,
can you have an embellishment penalty at the same time as a legitimate penalty?
I think they come hand in hand almost, right? Because
No, you don't
I've seen that
embellish
happen
something
multiple
if it
times.
actually, but that's what it shouldn't. It's one or the other. You embellish something that didn't occur to try to get a penalty, or you just got like a penalty, like someone did a penalty worthy offense to you. I
Sure.
hate it. It makes me bonkers. I mean, thank God for it now, because
Yeah.
when I saw that they were taking I think I swear to God, at first I thought that had to be on Dallas. I can't remember what it was. And then I was super confused. But yeah, thank God they took both of them. Um, I Dallas is a bunch of divers, man. They are seriously a bunch of divers.
Yeah. And like I said, luckily that did happen because it offset the
Mm-hmm.
penalties, and nothing scored out of that. But again, that it was another moment that this could have gone the
Yeah.
other way very easily, because they were rocking and rolling on their power plays, man. They were doing great.
Yeah.
However, the game goes into overtime, and it is exchanging blows, right? So Dallas did have, I would probably say, a hefty chunk of possession in that overtime period, but all it took was one play and a guy that skated out of his mind fast to
Yes.
score the
Oh
game-winning
my
goal.
God. I
Miles
so
Wood
I
is
was
the hero.
He is in the 98th percentile. So NHL Edge is super dumb, and you can't like organize the top, and like you can't sort it by like best skaters to worst. You have to like search an individual player and it tells you the percentile, because they don't want the bad players to like be made fun of or embarrassed or like held against them. But
Yep.
Miles Wood is in the 98th percentile. Like he is ass and up against McKinnon's skating stats.
He's so
I was
fast.
talking to my dad and I kept watching it. And when he took 2 strides, he was able to pull away from who was that was trying to catch him?
Oh, who was it? I don't
Would
think I
that
paid
be the guy
attention to the
that
defense.
everybody says is just as good as Cale Makar? Or
Was it
I think it
Heiskanen?
was Saravalli. Yes, Saravalli
Oh my
saying
gosh, it
that he
was.
would pick Heiskanen's line over Taze and Makar. And it made me puke a little, and I'm never going to forget. So I just, I am, especially when you consider that was in overtime. Like for him, but part of the problem is Dallas is only playing 5 defensemen. They're going to wear them out because
Oh yeah.
Hakanpää is out, and they don't. Apparently, what's his face? What's the coach? Montgomery. I'm like mixing all the coaches up today. I've been listening to way too much playoff talk. Montgomery
You're talking Pete DeBoer?
or DeBoer. I always get Bonus, Montgomery, and DeBoer mixed up. I have no idea why. So he doesn't like their 6 defensemen that they have filling in for Hakanpää. So they've only been playing 5 defensemen. So these guys are good. We have got to push the third period balls to the freaking wall while they're on. I mean, that is like insanity. And meanwhile, we're over here. We've got some solid defensemen chilling, waiting to be called up. And we've got 6 all the way through. Jack Johnson has played phenomenal all the way through the game, all the way through both series. Like, how are people trying to say that they're deeper than us when they're down 1 defenseman and have to go 5D? Like, I can't believe in overtime that bottom 6 Pasta from Spit and Chicklets, when he got traded, he said that Miles Wood is not even good enough to be in the NHL, that he'll be out of the NHL soon. Like, look at this dude.
Now look.
And that's just like the Avalanche effect. But to see that want is like really, really reassuring. He pulled away from the best defenseman, if you're not asking me, in the league. He got like a full arm's length ahead of him within like 2 strides. And the guy's tall, but it's not just height. I mean, it's just tenacity. So yeah, I don't know. I've watched it like 100
post-game
times.
interview with
No.
Scott Van Pelt. Oh my gosh, he was out of breath. He put on the headset and he was just
It's not sustainable at all. I had to listen to the Dallas feed for like the end.
Oh, sure. Did they just sound super
Actually,
deflated?
maybe it was just the ESPN feed and it just comes
Could have been.
now.
Could have been. Media coverage is not kind in Colorado.
That overtime should have ended a lot sooner and not in our favor, if not thanks to 2 Giev, 3 Giev, elite goalie statistics Giev. He's people are arguing who's got the best goalie left, and honestly, Georgiev is one of the top performing goalies in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
Just, it sucks that we have to pucker our buttholes going into every game wondering, can it last? Will it last? You know, like, especially when he lets in early ones, even on the games that he closes it down. But that overtime was some of the best goaltending of the series, or of the playoffs so far.
Of his season, I would even say.
Yeah, Dallas, you know, who had that backdoor shot? Was that Ben going in for that wide open backdoor that he slid across cross crease, spread eagle?
I thought that was Sagan.
But he's already like planning his celebration in his head. Could you imagine the feeling seeing Georgiev's ass just, that save was probably one of the best saves of Georgiev's life, one of the most consequential, maybe, because he had to close that game down after letting in those goals. He owed it to them to finish that game, and that's what. Give us B+, baby. That's all we need.
Exactly. So let's kind of talk about those 3 goals that Dallas did have. To be completely 100% honest with you, I blame him for 1.
Yeah.
That's the only one I can blame him on, because the one off the face-off, it's like, okay, you should
never happens.
You should have been prepared earlier. Like, that's the only one where I was like, that one's on
Miles
you.
Wood scored that one in the last series. Didn't he get one right off the faceoff? I mean, it's a rare occurrence, but when somebody gets a shot on the net from the faceoff, it's usually going to go in. But
Exactly, right?
wake up, buddy.
So that's the one where I'm like, that's
Yeah.
why you need to be there prepared no matter what before the faceoff even begins. And I'm sure you could allude to this being the goalie that you are. They probably teach you have to be in ready stance
Yeah,
before
I
that
mean,
puck
never
even
do you
drops.
have more time and like to be properly prepared for the puck. You know, I mean,
Yep.
you're literally getting moments before to set yourself, get in position, look at who's on the ice. It's not,
Yep.
but it's tough. I get, and that's where I'm like, where I could excuse it. Also, we need you to save some of the ones you shouldn't. Like that's the
Exactly.
fairness.
Right. Kind of like with the because one of them obviously was a goal. It was a 5-on-3. That one I give him an excuse. It's like, what are you
It's
supposed to do down
especially
two
like right.
guys?
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
almost a gimme. That's why it's so crucial for the refs to get those right because it
Yep.
is. I don't know what the statistics look like on that, but it is very dangerous.
It's a scoreboard changer for sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
And the
just a
other one,
mentality changer. It's exhausting to put your
oh,
penalty kill out like
absolutely.
that. It's absolutely gutting.
Yep. Because you
Thanks,
could
Miko.
within the span of less than 2 minutes, you could be down 2 goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just by
Yep.
penalties alone. Which the other goal that I am on the kind of forgiving side, but again, if maybe he had his glove up a little bit more, it wouldn't have mattered, to be determined. But that's the one that had just that slight ticked redirect up
I
and into the net,
know.
where Georgiev's
Is that
glove
the
was
one
in the
that hit
right
the body
spot.
though? Didn't it hit like Ben's
It hit a
body or
couple
somebody's
things.
body?
Somebody's body and then someone's stick, right? So it's kind of one of those
Stuff's so
dumb
hard,
luck type
man.
things. So that's why
And
I'm
that
giving
guy,
Georgiev the
I want to
pass.
know what kind of witchcraft he was doing in Russia before he came here because he has like the most serious kind of hex that exists on him. I've never seen such an unlucky goalie. I swear to God,
Yeah,
the
that's
lucky
just
bounce never is his.
it's just incredible how that happens. But
Hmm.
again, as after that first period, he shut everything down, which is
Which is just insane when you
it's a breath of
consider
fresh
his
air.
mental struggles. He struggles mentally, but when he does it. And you got to wonder if there's a correlation in that between when he's at a low with the team and at a high with the team. You know, if the
Yeah,
team is still like, dude, we're good, you're good, like he's not
don't worry.
feeling the
Yep.
negative vibes from the team because he's been so good that like he's gonna have a bad game here soon. And holy mother of God, I don't know if you were on Twitter or Facebook while the score was 3-0, but everybody basically canceled Georgiev again. Good God, people. Like, reel it in a little bit and control yourselves. My
Yeah,
Colorado
seriously.
Avalanche goalie pages, every time he lets a goal in, I swear to God, somebody posts in there like, well, he sucks again. And it's like,
You
go
jump to
away.
conclusions so
I
fast.
have to stop interacting.
Yeah, that's why I tend to have my social medias or just my phone in general way in the other
Hmm.
room. So I don't even have to
Yep.
think about it. I'm just living in the moment.
There's nothing good comes from arguing with those people.
Yep. I think you're 100% correct.
I'm still
Um,
on here. I'm just,
yep. Nope, you're good.
I'll be back in just a sec.
You're good. But it was really interesting too because Ottinger, who people trust, the Dallas side of things, they're like, oh, he's our best goalie in a long
Literally
time, and
heard him labeled as plug and play playoff success. He's a
yeah, I
plug
mean,
and play playoff goalie. And then it's like, when you look at his stats, he's really not. He had the one. We don't have a big sample size on him. We could wreck him.
yeah, and you look at, I mean, I guess that's more of a testament to kind of the offense that the Avalanche have, very similar to the 2022 season where they could really score
Yeah.
at will if they
No,
wanted to, right?
that's a really good point. Sorry I keep going off on tangents, but like that's such a good point is that widely the discussion has been what did Dallas do wrong? What did they need to fix? What little mistakes did they fix? What little things was Ottinger messing up? And it's like
Hmm.
really missing the fact that the Avalanche just are really good. Like they
They
force
just
it.
have firepower. That's
Yeah,
it. Like,
it's not because the other team isn't doing like able to be a good team or isn't a good team. The Avalanche when they're forcing what they want to do on somebody, there's just nothing that other teams can do about it. And that's just not being discussed. I mean, people are
Yeah.
talking about specific players and plays, but for the most part, it's not. It's mostly just being discussed about what's Dallas going to improve for the next game. But it's like they might not have a good answer, which they very well may. I still think this could go to 7, but they might not have a distinct answer for this simply because
Sure.
be better, be the Colorado Avalanche is not like a feasible answer.
Yeah, I totally agree. Switching gears real quick before we kind of go into the future, look ahead for the series and whatnot. I do want to touch on one last player, and that's Val Nichushkin. He has a goal in every playoff game so far.
Oh my God, he's
Is
unstoppable.
that
I
not
just talked to my
incredible?
dad. When Drouin comes back, we're gonna have to just put him on the third line, right? We cannot move
Boy, I
Nuke.
don't know.
We have to put him on the third line and ride it until things need to be shaken. The lines need to be shaken. But as far as I'm concerned, um, you know, Parise is definitely slowing down a little bit already, as anticipated. But I think that putting Drouin in the third line adds some life. His IQ, his playmaking abilities, you cannot move Nuke. You simply cannot. He is
Yeah.
absolutely unstoppable. And it's only a matter of time before people realize that they're expending all of their efforts on McKinnon and leaving like the most Nuke might be more of a lethal scoring power than McKinnon right now.
It
It's
totally
almost a
seems like it.
positive that they're so obsessed with McKinnon because
Yeah.
Mac is fine with not scoring the points if that means they're leaving everybody, leaving
Yeah.
guys like
He's in his playoff mentality where he doesn't care who scores as long as we score, right?
And
Like,
there is the concept that Nuke owes us. And that sounds so entitled, but like he owns the team. He owns the you know what I mean? After the Seattle thing, like he does there is that little